Mr. Chairman, my amendment provides a sense of Congress, and it requests a report focusing on conventional and nuclear forces in the Western Pacific. Particularly, the sense of Congress supports America's pivot to Asia to reinforce security of our allies and strengthen our deterrent capability against North Korea. It encourages further steps, including deployment of additional conventional and redeploying tactical nuclear weapons to the Western Pacific. Further, it deploys additional conventional nuclear forces to the Western Pacific region as a U.S. response to the ballistic and nuclear missile weapons development of North Korea, and certainly for other belligerent actions, Mr. Chairman. The report is to include an evaluation of any bilateral agreements, any basing agreements, and costs that would be involved with this deployment. Mr. Chairman, as you know, North Korea has grown more and more belligerent over the years. They've recently conducted a launch that was conducted despite numerous UN resolutions and multinational oppositions voiced to the test. And despite its failure, this launch revealed North Korea's unwillingness to be constrained by UN resolutions, sanctions, and international condemnation of missile and nuclear test agreements. Fundamentally, Mr. Chairman, we, in the last many years, have appealed to China and other countries to help us negotiate with North Korea to bring them in line with the quest for peace in the world. And it seems like nothing that we do works. In fact, China has now embarked on selling nuclear components to North Korea. And they're not just supporting North Korea financially, Mr. Chairman. They are directly supporting North Korea's missile program. And consequently, it's become time for us as a nation to look to our deterrent and our ability to take care of ourselves and to work with our allies to make sure that we're doing everything necessary to deter and to be able to defend ourselves against any future either belligerence or future threats from North Korea. And I think that this is a reasonable amendment. It conducts a study and a sense of Congress, and I hope my colleagues would support the amendment.
Mr. Chairman.
Chair recognizes Ranking Member Smith from Washington. 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will oppose this amendment and urge the committee to do so. I mean, first of all, I think we should make it clear. We have a robust presence in the Pacific, and we take North Korea very, very seriously. We have substantial U.S. military presence right on the DMZ. We've been working very closely with the South Korean military that has significantly increased their capabilities. We are in no way assuming that somehow North Korea can be negotiated out of their belligerent behavior. We are taking every possible step to be in a military position for that. And I don't think there's any evidence that we're not taking the threat of North Korea very seriously and making sure that we have adequate forces in the region to deal with it. Second, one of the things in this committee that we try to avoid doing and never seem to succeed is overloading the Department of Defense with reports that they want to submit to us. I'm absolutely convinced that the Department of Defense right now is constantly looking at the threat from North Korea, evolving in their strategy and figuring out what we need to do to meet it, demanding that they submit a report to us. I don't think it's going to help that process. And lastly, and perhaps most importantly, I think putting in legislation the notion that it would be helpful to the region to deploy tactical nuclear weapons to the Asian region is just completely wrong. If anything, that will ramp up the tension and create a greater likelihood of problems in the region, not a lesser one. I believe we have that situation covered, and we have a more than adequate deterrent capability. To suggest that it would be a good idea to increase the amount of nuclear weapons in that region is not something that I can support, and not something I think this committee should support. I urge opposition to the amendment.
Would the gentleman yield just briefly?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to remind the committee that the amendment doesn't force our nuclear weapons on anyone. It just examines whether we and our alliances would be strengthened with the deployment of conventional or nuclear weapons in the region. If China is going to be so concerned about a stronger U.S. presence in the region, it's very simple for them to do something about it. They can stop supporting North Korea's missile program and get tough on the Kim Jong-un administration.
I believe is the correct pronunciation. I yield back.